Good morning, all of you. Welcome to Ansarkari. So in this video, we'll be discussing the newspaper for 23rd of April 2023. So the first important article is regarding the violation of the provisions of FCRA Act, that is the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. So NGOs को जो foreign contributions मिलते हैं in terms of funds, कुछ provisions होते हैं which they need to abide, and उनके violation की वजह से here we are seeing कि CBI it has booked a lawyer and his NGO. So the NGO is live, which stands for Legal Initiative for Forest and Environment, and एक और US based NGO है by the name Earth Justice, जहाँ पे हमें ये देखने को मिला है कि it has attempted to stall the coal projects in India through litigation. So बहुत ज़्यादा litigations आप इतना file करोगे तो you will make the thing subjudized, and that's how they try to delay the coal projects in India. So एक ये disrupting role है जो NGOs play करते हैं, and इसके अलावा अगर we get important provisions of FCRA Act mentioned here, so we'll just go through them. So हमें यहाँ पे देखने को मिला है कि this person, Mr. Datta, is that he received rupees 41 lakh as the foreign contribution 2013-14 में, and with that he created this NGO Life, which got rupees 22 crores from the Earth Justice US masked as a professional receipt. So जो दूसरा US based NGO था उससे it got rupees 22 crores, and ये हमने देख लिया है कि US based NGO इसने कैसे disrupting role play किया है installing the coal projects in India through filing a number of petitions. So that's how CBI has booked the lawyer and his NGO. So moving forward. So ready to fight, says Satyapal Malik, as police deny the claims that he was detained. So he is the former Jammu and Kashmir's governor. He reaches the RK Puram police station after officers detain his supporters from a park near his house. Organizers, they were told to hold their meetings at Jantar Mantar. So police is denying the claims that he was detained, and farmers and the CUP leaders from across Haryana, UP, Rajasthan, Delhi, they have gathered at the residence of Mr. Malik. So basically, he said a few things, and that's how like the things got highlighted in the news, and now he's being questioned. So this is not so important for us, but we just need to be aware about that what is happening around. Moving forward, looking for more important news articles for us. So ISRO, it has launched PSLV C-55. We have already talked about this. It's like a repeat here. So it is carrying Helios 2 satellite, which is a Singapore satellite. So that's there. So it is Earth observation satellite, and yeah, that is the important details. And we've already discussed it, so we'll not be repeating. So talks on consensus against the war in Ukraine, trade ties likely during a prime minister's visit to France. So these were the two main agendas regarding the war in Ukraine and trade ties when we talk about France. So as planning gets underway for Prime Minister's visit to France in July, hopes are rising in Paris for a big ticket deal that would further strengthen the relations between the two countries. And इसके अलावा we know कि फ्रांस में प्रोटेस्ट चल रहे हैं. Reason was the pension reforms. So several agreements in fields like trade, defense, climate change, energy, they're likely to be discussed during the visit. And apart from that, the leaders, they'll be meeting twice this year, including in September also, when there's going to be G20 summit in Delhi. They're expected to try and break the log jam in the deal for 6 nuclear power reactors for India's Jaitapur project, which is still stuck over the pricing and the liability issues. So इससे हमें पता होना चाहिए इंडिया में कहाँ कहाँ पे कौन सा न्यूक्लियर पावर प्लांट्स एंड रिएक्टर्स लोकेटेड है, एंड अगर वो किसी फॉरेन कंट्री के साथ कोलैबोरेशन में सेटअप किया गया है तो हमें वो भी पता होना चाहिए. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस, डायलॉग विद रशिया से रिगार्डिंग बात हुई है कि डिप्लोमेटिक सोर्सेज ने बोला कि फ्रांस आल्सो वांट्स इंडिया टू टॉक टू मॉस्को एंड कीप अप द एंगेजमेंट एज यूरोप सीक्स सॉल्यूशन टू द यूक्रेन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट. So rather than issuing threats, they said they want India and China to join the United Nations consensus against the war. When asked if India's refusal to shift away from its traditional relationship with Russia would cast a shadow on the visit. So let's see, India would be like obviously deciding according to it only. And अभी तक के लिए हमने ये बात डिस्कस कर चुके हैं कि between Russia and the Western world या Russia and USA, we have been balancing our ties, we've been balancing and we've been able to meet our interest also when it comes to the Russia-Ukraine war, जिससे हमने देखा है कि Russia and the Western world, they are at loggerheads. So India के लिए दोनों important है and we have been nicely balancing our ties with each one of them. But अभी इंडिया के ऊपर प्रेशर बिल्डअप हो रहा है कि you need to take one side and you need to be clear with that. So space, जो स्पेस सेक्टर की बात करें तो ऑप्टिमिस्टिक स्पेस पॉलिसी लेज आउट प्लान्स टू प्राइवेटाइज दिस सेक्टर. सो स्पेस पॉलिसी इंडिया में है या नहीं, एक वो चीज है, एंड प्राइवेटाइजेशन से क्या लाइक चैलेंजेस होंगे, लाइक या उससे क्या कंसर्न्स हो सकते हैं. सो that is important for us. So center's updated space policy, it is cleared by the Union Cabinet on 6th of April, but made public on Thursday. So it is now public and it has drawn measured optimism from India's budding private sector startup space. So jo startups hai in the space sector, they are optimistic. And the space policy finally public kar di gayi hai, so you can go through that. Indian Space Policy 2023 creates 4 distinct but related entities that will facilitate greater private sector participation in activities that have usually been the traditional domain of ISRO. So basically private sector ka role in participation ko increase karne ki baat ki ja rahi hai. We are focusing more upon that, and to augment the space capabilities, enable, encourage, and develop a flourishing commercial presence in space, use space as a driver of technology development and derived benefits in the allied areas, pursue international relations, and create an ecosystem for effective implementation of space applications among all the stakeholders. So कुछ features हैं या कुछ objectives हैं that we are focusing upon. इसके अलावा in space, which is the Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center, it will be a single window clearance and authorization agency for the space launches, establishing the launch pads, buying and selling of satellites, and disseminating high resolution data, among other things. So a single window platform would be facilitated, would be provided by InSpace. So space industry standards को develop करने की बात की जा रही है, promoting identified space activities and work with academia to widen the space ecosystem and enable industry academia linkages. So ISRO will focus on research in outer space. So main focus, main emphasis ISRO का रहने वाला है outer space पे. This will mean developing new space technologies and applications to maintain India's edge in the space sector, space infrastructure, transportation applications, capacity building, and human space flight. So all these are keywords, please note them down. And third entity है New Space India Limited, which is NSIL. New Space India Limited, that is already executed few commercial space launches and replacement for the ISRO's beleaguered Antariksh. It will be responsible for the commercializing the space technologies and platforms created through public expenditure, as well as manufacture, lease, or procure space components, technologies, platforms, and other assets from the private or the public sector. So the role of each scale stakeholder, it has been demarcated in this new space policy of 2023. And these were the important details regarding it. So to cut at the root of narcotics, center it plans the drive against poppy and cannabis. So union government, it intensifies its crackdown against the drugs cultivation of poppy and cannabis in the area size of over 89,000 football fields. It has been destroyed in the past 3 years. So it is like we are having the aim to make India drug free by 2047. So Union Home Ministry, it plans to link the recovery and usage of the narcotics and banned substances in a particular area to the annual appraisal report on the district superintendent of police. So this will bring accountability and it will also fix the responsibility at the same time. So we have the Narcotics Control Bureau, and we also do have a act, which is the Psychotropic Substances Act. And according to the Narcotics Control Bureau, in the past 3 years, 35,592 acres of poppy cultivation, 82,000 acres of cannabis has been destroyed across the country. So states जहाँ पे crops को destroy किया गया था, that includes Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Odisha, Tripura, and Telangana. So northeastern states है. नॉर्दर्न स्टेट्स में हिमाचल प्रदेश, जम्मू एंड कश्मीर है, देन सेंट्रल इंडिया में कुछ स्टेट्स हैं, एंड ईस्टर्न इंडिया में स्टेट्स हैं जहाँ पे these crops they were destroyed. So picture में आप देख सकते हो झारखंड पुलिस, they are destroying the illegal poppy cultivation in the Khunti district in Jharkhand. So we have this Prevention of Illicit Traffic in the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act of 1988, which includes a provision to detain an individual for up to 2 years without a court's intervention. So ये provision mentioned है. And पहले इस act को इतना ज़्यादा use नहीं किया जा रहा था, but basically awareness kam thi, jo provisions the usse regarding the awareness was not that much. So the usage of this act was very less. And abhi tak as we go by the numbers, so only 500 people they have been arrested so far under this act. So we are seeing कि dark net का use किया जाता है, cryptocurrencies का use किया जाता है, and illegal drugs that is increasing. And 2020, 21, 2022 में agency ने investigate किए हैं 59 such cases, and we are also seeing कि drone का भी use किया जाता है when it comes to transporting these drugs, especially like इंडिया पाकिस्तान बॉर्डर पे तो बहुत ज़्यादा देखने को मिलता है इन द स्टेट ऑफ पंजाब. ऐसी न्यूज़ हमें बहुत ज़्यादा देखने को पढ़ने को मिलती है कि ड्रोन्स का यूज़ किया जा रहा है इन ट्रांसपोर्टिंग या डिलीवरिंग दीज ड्रग्स, एंड ऑल्सो वेपन्स भी यूज़ किए जाते हैं. सो एक मल्टी एजेंसी सेंटर क्रिएट किया गया है टू शेयर द इनपुट्स ऑन द यूज ऑफ डार्क नेट एंड क्रिप्टो करेंसी फॉर ट्रेड इन नार्कोटिक्स. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस, होम मिनिस्ट्री के डायरेक्टिव्स के बेसिस पे सब स्टेट्स ने क्रिएट किया है डेडिकेटेड एंटी नार्कोटिक्स टास्क फोर्स. सो ये स्टेट्स में काम कर रही है, एंड फर्स्ट एवर कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑफ इट वाज हेल्ड between 19th to 20th April this year. So it was stressed that you need to confiscate the property and the assets of the accused for maximum deterrence. And lastly, we also have the on the National Narcotics Coordination Portal. So the source and destination of the drugs, they are highlighted and the information up to the district level is maintained. So this is National Narcotics Coordination Portal and इसके अलावा एक और database है which is called Nidan, and it has the photographs, fingerprints, court orders, information and details of all the suspects and convicts arrested under this Act of Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act so far, which can be accessed by state and central law enforcement agencies. So you need to remember कि Nidan database and Nidan portal is related to what? So that becomes important for prelims. So Pushkarlu festival, it returns to Ganga after a gap of 12 years. So people, you can see they're taking bath, they're taking a dip in the Ganga river during this Ganga Pushkarlu Kumbh in Varanasi. And this is happening after a gap of 12 years. So it is celebrated by Telugus. It was started in Varanasi, and we're expecting more than 1 lakh pilgrims to visit the city as part of this event. So in this festival, during which pilgrims, they worship Ganga River and their ancestors, it is being organized in Varanasi. So that's the update. Coming to the world page. So Nepal's Prime Minister is planning a visit to India. So he says that first homework needs to be done before visiting India. So right now, the Nepal's Prime Minister is Pushpa Kamal Dahal, who is famously known as Prachanda. And that's there. So apart from this, हमें पता होना चाहिए कि इंडिया और नेपाल के बीच में कैसा रिलेशनशिप है, क्या इश्यूज हैं, एंड वाटर बॉडीज से रिलेटेड, रिवर से रिलेटेड भी इशू है, उससे रिलेटेड एक इम्पोर्टेंट ट्रीटी भी है, ट्रीटी ऑफ सुगौली. सो ये सारा आप एक बार एक जगह पढ़ सकते हो. दैट वुड मेक थिंग्स इजियर फॉर यू. एंड मूविंग फॉरवर्ड, so Sudan में evacuation finally begins. More than 150 people from different countries, they have reached Saudi Arabia. Fighting, it resumes in Khartoum after a temporary truce. It leads to brief respite from the gunfire. So because of there was a temporary truce, and विद सुडान अब हमें ये पता होना चाहिए जो भी इम्पोर्टेंट जोग्राफिकल थिंग्स हैं, लेक्स हैं, सुडान को कौन सी कंट्रीज बॉर्डर करती हैं. सो ये सारी चीजें इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाती है. इम्पोर्टेंट रिवर है, नाइल है. सो इट्स ट्रिब्यूटरीज, दे आल्सो बिकम इम्पोर्टेंट फ्रॉम द एग्जामिनेशन पर्सपेक्टिव. So Philippines raises concerns over Taiwan during Chinese official visits. So Taiwan वाला region area news में चल रहा है, and यहाँ पे obviously countries के बीच में they are not, basically China ये चाहता है कि कोई भी country Taiwan को support ना करे, because China says कि it is a part of China, but Taiwan does not feel that way. So यहाँ पे basically tensions increase हो रही हैं, and we might see the next conflict in this area. So situation is turbulent. And coming to the science page. So as per a study, 7 worst years for the polar ice melting in the past decade. So कल के न्यूज़पेपर में भी हमने देखा था कि the way and the rate at which glaciers are melting, they are off the charts. So that's really alarming. And यहाँ पे भी we are seeing कि last 7 years में, in the past decade, in the 7 years we saw कि polar ice melting was the worst. So as per 50 satellite surveys of Antarctica and Greenland taken between 1992 and 2020, international team of researchers, they have found that the melting ice sheets, they now account for a quarter of all the sea level rise, which is five-fold increase in the sea level since 1990s. And apart from this, जिस rate से sea level भी rise हो रहा है, that is also doubled in the past 10 years. So that's there. Then regarding the elephant seals, थोड़ा IUCN status कहाँ पे कौन सी countries में ज़्यादा मिलते हैं वो find out कर सकते हो. यहाँ पे ऐसे कुछ details mention नहीं है, but हमारे examination के लिए वो ज़्यादा important है. And apart from this, stray dog population control की बात करें तो that is dodged by bad signs. So here reckless feeding tends to congregate of the dogs and it leads to pack formation. So obviously जो लोग मतलब people they feed these stray dogs, तो वहाँ पे ज़्यादा dogs इकट्ठे हो जाते हैं, ज़्यादा वहाँ पे रहने लग जाते हैं, तो that's basically one reason. And this behavior is usually triggered at night, leading to attacks on people. So it leads to pack formation, territoriality between dogs, aggression हो जाता है even amongst sterilized dogs also. So नाइट में ऐसे ज्यादा इवेंट्स जो अग्रेशन के हैं वो ज्यादा देखने को मिलते हैं. So ABC program is destined to fail. So the main culprit behind the stray dogs attacking or killing people is the animal birth control rules, जो 2001 में सबसे पहली बार इंट्रोड्यूस किए गए थे. So जो ABC program है, it aims to implement a technique which is called catch, neuter, vaccinate, and release to control population of the free-ranging dogs and cats. So 20 years complete हो गए हैं and we're seeing hundreds of crores of rupees being spent. The dog population in India, it is now more than 65 million. So most cases में only a small fraction of population sterilized की गई by municipalities. बहुत सारे cases में program itself is discontinued after a few cycles. So basically flawed implementation of this program has resulted and it has like basically failed in meeting the results. So as per a study, it shows that 90% of the dog population needs to be sterilized over a short period of time to achieve a sustained population reduction over 10 to 15-year period. And strict pet ownership laws, a ban on the irresponsible feeding in the public places, and encouraging adoption and long-term sheltering of the homeless dogs, that will result in the win-win solutions. So we need to stick to these things. Coming to the business page, so here we are seeing like हमें पता होना चाहिए जो different terms mention की जाती हैं, like here in terms of banking we see कि provisioning mentioned है, asset quality rises we are seeing. So इनका simple and basic meaning पता होना important है क्योंकि कुछ terms पूछी जाती हैं examination में and ऐसी पूछी जाती हैं. So yes bank के context में it is written कि Q4 उनका net it has dipped by 45% because of provisioning and asset quality has improved. So provisioning basically जब आप लोन देते हो, जब बैंक लोन देता है तो एक परसेंटेज ऑफ अमाउंट है, जितने अमाउंट का आप लोन दे रहे हो एक फिक्स्ड परसेंटेज है जो बैंक्स को दे नीड टू keep it aside and उसको बैंक यूज नहीं कर सकता है for lending या for any other purpose. So that is a safety measure कि अगर आने वाले टाइम में कुछ defaults देखने को मिलते हैं on a particular loan तो कुछ certain amount of that money is already with the bank and then the bank can use that. So बैंक के जो losses हैं उनको कम करने में help करता है. So this is what we mean by provisioning. So India, it is among the fastest growing economies amid uncertainties. So against the uncertain global backdrop, India has increasingly been in the spotlight for being amongst the fastest growing major economies, which is helped by a strong consumption story. So these are the views of the banker Deepak Parekh sir. So India is not immune to global disruptions. We are not immune, but जो उनका impact है, that is very less. So we can say more resilient. So some slowdown in growth that is inevitable, वो तो होगा ही होगा, but कुछ amount of slowdown होगा, बहुत ज़्यादा slowdown देखने को नहीं मिलेगा. And since India, it is domestic consumption based economy, India is less dependent upon the global economy or global कुछ ऐसे events हो जाते हैं. So we are less dependent, we are less affected by them, and compared this with the countries that heavily rely on exports. So India इतना ज़्यादा exports पे dependent नहीं है. We are domestic consumption based economy. So ये कुछ important basic चीजें हैं that you need to remember and you need to know regarding the nature of the Indian economy and कौन सा sector है जिसके ऊपर we are much more dependent when it comes to the growth. Moving on to the Financial Express. So let's start with this newspaper. So for stargazers in India, now sky is the limit. So astro-tourism gets pushed with new projects. Astro-tourism, reach for the stars. So India's first dark sky reserve or the night sky sanctuary, it is now ready. It is located at an elevation of 4,500 meters above the sea level in the Hanle village, which is there in Ladakh. So it aims to offer an ideal landscape to watch the night sky. So this is India's first dark sky reserve. Very, very important topic. And a picture में भी देख सकते हो, it's a picture from Ladakh. And Starscapes Observatory in Mukteshwar, this is the picture from there. So Benital, it's a village located 2,600 meters above the sea level. Uttarakhand, it is being developed as India's first astro village. Benital, it is in Uttarakhand. So India's first astro village. So an astro park, it is in the works in Mandu, Madhya Pradesh. Maybe the things are moving forward on this front, and Rajasthan government has introduced a night sky tourism project to encourage visitors to look up through telescopes such as telescopes जो setup किए गए हैं जयपुर में. So recently upgraded 3D projection system at Nehru Planetarium in Delhi now offers visitors an immersive space travel experience. So ये different locations पे different initiatives लिए जा रहे हैं to promote astro tourism. Dark sky reserve in Ladakh, मध्य प्रदेश में coming with astro park, and उत्तराखंड में astro village develop किया जा रहा है. राजस्थान में night sky tourism के लिए there's a project. So these are the developments when we talk about astro tourism projects. So as per Piyush Goyal, who is the Commerce and Industry Minister, says that international trade in rupees soon. The whole world wants to have a comprehensive economic partnership pact with India. So when we talk about international trade in rupees, so here Vostro accounts become important, and कौन सी country के साथ we are like more engaged right now when it comes to the rupee based trade. So that's Russia. And regarding the Watchdog account, we need to know कि वो कैसे function करते हैं, कौन सी country में setup किए जाते हैं. So all of that is important. So economic stability तो है ही है, but political stability भी बहुत important role play करती है when it comes to growth. So that is also keeping India ahead as per Deepak Parekh sir. So as a country, we are fortunate to see more tailwinds than headwinds. And what is working well for India is the fact that we have political stability, and I don't see this being disrupted in 2024 either. So these are his observations. So here, Earth Day, we know 22nd of April, it is celebrated as Earth Day every year. So कुछ important international days हैं जिनकी date हमें पता होनी चाहिए. So the rising concern over the climate change is directly or indirectly affecting the people and nations. But are we doing enough to convert this fear into action to mitigate this global crisis or not is the question. So यहाँ पे climate risk reduction के लिए few things are mentioned, like increased use of public transportation. Flyovers, they are no longer solution for the traffic congestion, as their construction not only cost many trees, but it also creates heat islands. So flyovers, they are no longer the solution when it comes to solving the traffic problem. Urban greening, it is often explained as a solution to tackle the heat waves or the floods through the green and the natural urban spaces and green corridors. So urban greening, ये सारी keywords हैं, please note them down. Construction materials impact the environment. Definitely हम पढ़ते हैं of the urbanization में concretization. So urban heat island effect, ये सारी impacts हमें देखने को मिल रहे हैं. तो we need to shift to use of sustainable materials or constructing water body indoors that can help us. And most architectural designs, they have shifted to exteriors utilizing organic elements like verdant vertical gardens. We have large windows. So architectural designs maybe accordingly changes karna would be helping us. And so 2022, it was the sixth warmest year since records they began in 1880. So the oceans, they were the hottest ever recorded in 2022. So the 10 warmest years on record have all occurred since 2010. It's really alarming, and definitely impact of climate change ki wajah se we are seeing such things. सो वर्ल्ड इम्यूनाइजेशन वीक हमेशा अप्रैल के लास्ट वीक को सेलिब्रेट किया जाता है हर साल. So it aims to highlight the collective action needed to protect the people from vaccine preventable diseases. And under the banner of the big catch up, WHO is working with partners to support countries to get back on track. So reduce your salt intake. Basically, obviously, excess of salt intake is not good for health. So sodium is an essential nutrient. It increases the risk of heart disease, stroke, and premature death when eaten in excess. But we are not paying attention to what we are consuming. So that's why we are seeing even heart attacks, they are also increasing. Because जो पैकेज फूड आता है वी आर नॉट पेइंग अटेंशन. जब उसके जो न्यूट्रिशनल चीजें मेंशन की गई है इसमें क्या क्या यूज किया गया है वी लाइक एब्सोल्युटली उस पर तो कोई ध्यान ही नहीं देता है उसमें कौन सा कंपोनेंट का किसका प्रोपोर्शन ज्यादा कम है. So that's often ignored, but definitely it takes away our life. And so it's important that we pay attention to the things that we are consuming because obviously that directly impacts our health. So there are certain misperceptions which are regarding the salt reduction. So food does not need salt to have appealing flavor. It takes some time for a person's taste buds to adjust. And then food, it has no flavor without salt. ये एक misperception है. Foods which are high in salt, they taste salty. So some foods that are high in salt, they don't taste very salty because sometimes they are mixed with other things also like sugars that mask that taste. And reducing the salt could be bad for my health. So ये तो इसका opposite होता है. Then on a hot and humid day, when you sweat, you need more salt in your diet. So ये सबसे बड़ा misperception है. So there is little salt lost through sweat. So there is no need to take extra salt even on a hot or humid day. But it's important to have a lot of water. So salt added during cooking, it is not the main source of salt intake. In many countries, about 80% of the salt in the diet, it comes from processed foods. So as I said, processed foods, packaged foods, they are not good at all. They are high in sugar and salt content. So only old people need to worry about how much salt they eat. This is again a myth. And eating too much salt, it can raise the blood pressure at any age, not just the old people, it can happen at any age. So sea salt is not better than manufactured salt simply because it is natural. So this is again a myth. So regardless of the source of salt, it is the sodium in the salt that causes bad health outcomes. चाहे वो sea salt हो, natural salt हो, manufactured salt हो, ultimately salt, high sodium content is not good for your health. So WHO recommends that adults they consume less than 5 gram, just under a teaspoon of salt per day. And this recommended maximum intake of the salt for adults must be adjusted downwards for children aged 2 to 15 years based on their energy requirements. So again, every Sunday we discuss the article which is written by P. Chidambaram sir. So here we have the article talks and it is titled Which Law and Whose Order? So basically it is about law and order. So Constitution of India was in the making for over 2 years and it came into effect on 26th January 1950. So one important fact, the Constitution, it came into effect on 26th January 1950, which is celebrated as Republic Day. So it was a product of collective wisdom of the Constituent Assembly, which was reasonably, though not fully, representative of the people of India. And in popular imagination, Constitution's soul is attributed to Baba Saheb Ambedkar. So Indian Penal Code, the backbone of the body of the criminal laws of India, it was made in 1860 during the British rule. So IPC, CRPC 1860 ke product hai. It has passed the test of many British-made basic laws and the Constitution of India. It has also survived many amendments. Then companion laws like Indian Evidence Act 1872, the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973, all these three laws, they were passed by the central legislature of the parliament and they can be amended or added to by the state legislature also. So law and order hota kya hai? What is law and order? So under the constitution, the subjects of criminal law and the criminal procedure, they are included in the 7th schedule, list 3, which is the concurrent list. So subjects like criminal law, criminal procedure, they are part of concurrent list under the 7th schedule of the Constitution. So this is also an important fact. However, the subject of public order that includes law and order, it is allotted to state legislature. Matlab list 2 में state list में we have public order and law and order. So यहाँ पे clarity रखना important है. Then executive power in relation to the public order, it is also vested in the state government. So that is by Article 162. So such a power, it carries with it a duty to enforce the law, which means applying the law, preventing violation of the law, apprehending the suspects, investigation, prosecution, securing conviction and punishment of the accused. So that should be in accordance with law and lawful orders. So अभी कुछ recent events ऐसे हुए हैं that has given rise to suspicion that the phrase law and order may have been infused with perverse meaning. So it seems कि law is no longer enacted law and it is law as understood and applied by the law enforcers. So that's a perception. And further, order no longer means a lawful order, but it includes the oral or the non-verbal instructions issued by persons who have assumed arbitrary power. So ये मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा वी कैन से कि इवन पॉलिटिकली भी थोड़ा बहुत पॉलिटिकल एलिमेंट भी होता है, सो विल नॉट लाइक इतना ज्यादा इसको हम सीरियसली लेके नहीं करेंगे, बट जो इम्पोर्टेंट फैक्ट्स है हमारे लिए वो इम्पोर्टेंट रहेंगे। सो कुछ यूनिवर्सल प्रिंसिपल्स की बात की गई है। लॉ इट इज प्रिमाइज्ड ऑन सर्टेन यूनिवर्सल लीगल एंड मॉरल प्रिंसिपल्स। सो laws definitely they are based on these common principles जो universally applicable हैं। So worldwide in democratic countries, the following presumptions in law, they are considered inviolable. Like every person is presumed innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. No person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except according to the procedure established by law. So ये जो procedure established by law है, इससे regarding भी question आ चुका है prelims में, and this is under article 21. So procedure established by law and due process of law के बारे में आपको clarity होना important है। Criminal law is written law and it includes the laws creating offenses and laws laying down the procedure for registration, investigation, all of that. Accused must be tried in an open court of contempt jurisdiction. The accused had the right to defend himself and plead his case in person or through a pleader. So prosecutor is an officer of the court and must fairly disclose all the material. So you can just read them down. So यहाँ पे different incidents mention किए गए हैं। I don't think so they are so important, but हमारे लिए definitely कुछ important facts जरूर निकल के आए हैं। And that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining in Sarkari. There's a PDF link in the description box. You can also go through the PDF and do subscribe to our channel and hit the like button for this video. Thank you so much for joining us.